Now, this process does come at a crucial time ahead of the countdown, of course, to those local government elections next year. Let's speak now to Dr. Rachel Fischer, Outa's research manager, then joining us on this one. Dr. Fischer, appreciate the time. Thank you. Let's outline first why these IEC commissioner roles are actually of massive significance. We see them every time an election comes around, but I don't know if we actually know the significance of this role in itself.
That is absolutely the crux of the matter. The public and in most cases the media's attention only really turns towards the commissioners and the IEC in times of elections. But the actual elections is the test bed where all the work for going builds up, and then we will see, is it successful? Was it a failure? What were the challenges and opportunities? So it's really those periods in between that are the most important, because if the foundations are weak and support insufficient, or the commissioners and the staff not the right fit, our elections can be put in jeopardy.
Yeah, so tell us about the role that they play actually then as commissioner, why it's so important.
It's a very broad but very important role in the sense of they need to make sure that the elections are free and fair, how they are planned and rolled out. They are not necessarily responsible for complete and full out voter education, because I mean that's much too broad to actually consider for the IEC themselves. But the commissioners must give direction and guidelines for those who are involved in this process, and then to make sure that the various aspects are in place, such as the public's awareness, for example, with the national and provincial elections last year, that there are 3 ballots to be cast. And then what is the infrastructure available, and is that infrastructure reliable and accurate, such as the voting management devices that we utilized last year that also came under scrutiny. But they must also have financial acuity, because the IEC also looks at political party funding, their allocations, and even the disclosures from private donations. So not only must there be an awareness of project management, financial management, education, and then ensuring an overall that the IEC aligns with governance requirements.
Yeah, I mean, one wonders then you also need some technological background too now, because we're moving into an era where you may even need to include some sort of technical changes or technological changes, should I say, to voting.
Absolutely. And then one of the interviewees earlier today indicated their interest on e-voting, that e-voting should be now systematically prepared for and introduced with the local government elections. Now, I mean, that's a great idea and a great thing to strive towards, and even in preparation for the 2029 national and provincial elections. But if we already consider issues such as ID cards, how well are these ID cards managed and rolled out? And I know this is not related to the IEC, but consider even challenges related to the driver license card. How sure are we that for voters to e-vote and then, going through that process, that the mechanisms are in place to make sure that it's safe, secure, reliable, but most importantly, that all South Africans have got equitable access to these.
Yeah, and then you wonder, because of course we've now just had, one of the interviewers also speaking there, that's Judge Mjabuliseni Matondo, saying that the IEC panel, that he is at best placed to interpret and apply policies of the Electoral Act. Do you think that that's enough, for example?
Well, not the only one, certainly not. But I mean, it is one of the requirements that one of the commissioners has to be a judge. So in that sense, he's got it, he's got that element, within his resume, but certainly not the only one. As you've rightly said, you need to have some technological understanding and capability, because we cannot ignore the role that technology will play in future. We have to catch up. We can't allow a digital divide to hold us back. But you also need to have financial understanding and expertise. Political party funding is a massive thing that My Vote Counts is really putting attention on. Education is important. And one of the themes that are coming up very strongly in the interviews, so there are three really. It's technology is a big one, low voter turnout, that's a problem, and then getting the youth to participate. Now, I don't know if just being a judge is really going to speak to technology, youth, or participation.
Yeah, and I was actually about to ask, though, how would an IEC commissioner deal with low voter turnout? Is that not dependent, perhaps, on the political parties themselves?
I would say it's an ecosystem. It has to be an ecosystem of sorts. So it's not, doesn't come down only to one, or many. It has to happen in tandem and in collaboration. Now, the IEC, in collaboration with the HSRC, the Human Sciences Research Council, do conduct really good research as to what are the stats, what are the trends, what are the mitigating factors, successes, and challenges. So, and all of these are available on the IEC's website if people are interested. I suppose it comes down to, in the South African context, we often say South Africa we're reputable for our constitution. Our legislation is on point. We've got excellent policies. What we lack is the follow through, the implementation, the consequence management, be that as it may. So how do we take the theory and practically apply it and make it work? We know what the issues are. I would say we need more feet on the ground, active engagement from the IEC, political parties, if they can put their egos aside, collaboration with schools, academia, civil society organizations is a massive thing. And if we can break down at least the egos when it comes to ensuring we've got a healthy democracy, and we start planning proactively for the local government elections and 2029, there has to be a change. There has to be a higher turnout.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, one of the big things right now as well is the strength of our institutions certainly being tested when one takes a look at, for example, the South African Police Service, etc. So this is another institution that is going to be very vital ultimately to our democracy as a whole. So this is absolutely massive then. Do you think this has been sufficiently open and accessible, particularly even to the public? Because they're the ones that need to judge this in the end as well.
Yes, I hear you. And I mean, there have been qualms already in the media with requests for the deadlines to be shifted for the shortlisting of these candidates. I like to differentiate between access and accessibility. Just because the public had access to it, which they did, it does not mean it was accessible. We've noticed that it wasn't advertised broadly enough. It wasn't compelling enough. There wasn't a social media campaign of sorts to get people to engage in these nominations. So yes, it was there. Was it out there good enough and visible and engaging enough? That's an entirely different matter, and most likely not. And I want to put this in here, even though I know it's a communication on a focus on the IEC. Let us not forget the other work that's taking place on the electoral front, which is the Electoral Reform Consultation Panel, whose report is due end of August. Now, it's easy to forget about these background processes, but they're all affecting our democracy and our electoral systems. Why aren't we seeing news on that? Why aren't we seeing social media campaigns on that? That's equally important.
So important as well. Yeah. Dr. Fischer, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for helping us unpack this. And we certainly hope we'll continue this conversation as well throughout this nomination period, as well as these interviews that are happening as well, and get your sense on things. Dr. Rachel Fischer, Outa's Parliamentary Engagement and Research Manager. As we get to grips then, as it is with the IEC Commissioner roles, 3 vacant roles at the IEC, top jobs certainly, and ones that are very important.